Hi, I'm Shelly James and welcome to another Shelly Loves to Paint. In today's lesson, we're going to go out to the patio and create a beautiful scene filled with pots of gorgeous flowers. So this is today's design. Don't you love it? Look at that gorgeous background with that beautiful brick wall. And then we put all those pots full of fun little flowers in the front. And this is what we're going to be creating today. So let's jump into the studio and get going. On today's Shelly Loves to Paint lesson, we're going to be doing this, as I mentioned, this beautiful little patio garden. And it's got 5 different terracotta pots with different colors of flowers in front of a brick wall. And it's got a darker background of greenery so that the colors and everything in the flowers pop. And so I'm going to be starting out this lesson with how to get that background and the foreground with the pots and everything in place so that we can get those pretty flower colors on there quickly and they will pop right off our canvas. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is, this is a 3/4 inch super soft mop. I'm going to work with this dry to get my background in. All right, you could use a 3/4 inch flat if you don't have a mop, that's fine, but I wanted to use this just to show you how fun and easy it is to get that background in place. So first thing I want to do, remember with landscapes you always start with the back and work your way forward. So we've got a back that is the greenery back here, and we have a back part that is the ground here where the pots are sitting. Okay, so those are the 2 things we want to get in first, and then we'll come forward, work on our brick and our pots. So then we can apply all of our flowers and leaves, etc. So 3/4 inch mop, and I'm going to get Thicket. Now this greenery in the back is dark, all right, and so to get that extra dark, normally I would add some Prussian blue, but in this case, I'm going to add just a little bit of Licorice. So this is Licorice right here. Little bit, it's very strong. Okay. So a little bit of Licorice with our Thicket. And we're going to come right up here to this upper left corner. And we're going to just apply this color in here. Right, and this is on an 8x10 canvas, and it's a wrapped canvas, so you can hang it without framing. And because of that, you need to make sure that you get the edges. All right, so a little bit of more of this Licorice with our Thicket. And I'm going to kind of slip slap now with that mop brush now that I've got a start to that. I just want to make sure I got into the grooves of the canvas. And you're going to come all the way down to the tops of these pots right here. So the nice thing is with these mops, you can get a flat edge just like you can with a flat brush, right? So you can get a chisel edge, I mean. So you can come right up to the back edge of these pots. And we can get right into those areas right there. The only problem is that it is a rounded brush, so it does get a little tricky to get into corners. So it takes a little extra effort for that. There we go. All right, so just kind of slip slapping. So there's a little bit of movement back there, so it's not flat. It's greenery back there, so you want to make sure that that's obvious and not just a hard flat green wall. Okay, so continuing to work this into our background, a little bit extra with the black and the Thicket. Come along the top of the brick wall here. So this is how you get foreground colors to stand out. If you have a dark background and you've got light colored flowers that you want to stand out, then you have to put in that dark background to get those to pop a little extra. All right, now I'm going to, over in this right side, now that I've got this background kind of all filled in, I'm going to stick something behind here so it tilts and gets the glare out a little bit. There we go. Still a bit of a glare, but not too bad. So you can kind of see the movement in there. Now, before I leave this, I'm going to come and get more Thicket, and right over the top, see here, I'm going to kind of slip slap some extra Thicket just so it really has that green look to it. And then I'm also going to put out some classic green. I didn't think to put that out before, but I'm going to put that, oops, a little bit of that right now. We'll use more of it later. A little bit of classic green over in this corner here. Okay, so, all right. A little bit of extra light on that side. So this is going to tell you that your light source is coming from the right-hand side. All right, and just a little movement back in there. We'll do more, but for now that's good. Okay, so that's our background. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and clean this brush. And with these mop brushes, they're goat hairs, so you don't want to rake them back and forth like you would our synthetic brushes. So it's one direction only. Turn the brush over in one direction only. That'll help preserve that brush for a lot longer. All right, and then push the water out of the bristles and you can come do your next color. Okay, so I didn't want the brush wet to do that background there, but now I can use it wet to do the rest of this foreground. So what I want to do now is let's come in with let's actually not use this brush for this because there's lots of little cracks and crevices I need to get into. So let's come in with our 3/4 inch flat on this one. Okay, so with this, I've got Parisian gray and some wicker white. We can put a little bit of burnt umber in there to kind of help darken a few areas, and that I think will be good. So I'm going to pick up all Parisian gray on this 3/4 flat. Come and side load just a little bit of white. All right, and we can come right down here at the base of these pots. And so it's dark down here. This brick wall is creating a shadow, and then the pots themselves can create a little bit of a shadow in between too. So you're making sure you're getting the edges again. Pick up a little more white now as we come from the right to the left. Don't need any more of that gray yet. All right, so it's dark over here, and then you're getting lighter as you're coming across, and it's really a slip slap. There's not a brush technique with this other than you're getting into the corners back here. Okay, so under these pots, let's get a little extra gray right in here. We'll come back in between these pots here, and that will have a little bit of dark in there. Okay, and then again more white. So, and then making sure we get the edges. I've not used any floating medium with this yet. This paint's moving just fine as long as you're picking up plenty of it. Okay, now once that's all filled in, right, then we can start adding a little bit of dappled sunlight sorts of looks here. But first let's lighten this up just a little bit more. So a little more white. And then over here especially, we can just take the corner of the brush and add little bits of sunlight peeping through the trees above, right? So just little bits with the corner. And then here, actually, this is going to be all the light area, and you're going to take the gray and create those little shadows where the light's not passing through the leaves. So just picking up more of that Parisian gray or French gray, excuse me, classic French gray. And with the corner, just kind of sweeping a few spots, okay? Now later, when we come in with our flower colors, we can add some other touches of color to this area as well. Okay. All right, now back in here, let's wipe this brush off. Not cleaning it, just wiping it off. All right, and I'm going to come and side load a little bit of the burnt umber on the gray edge. All right, so where I had the gray on the brush, now I'm side stroking some burnt umber and kind of working that in. And we can come right under here and then pull it out. So it's creating a little bit of a shadow on the right sides of these pots. And the further out the pots go, the more they're going to be in the sunlight. So the darkest part is going to be back here on the right. Okay, so a little corner sweeping, and you can take the other corner and just kind of work that in so there's not, softening the edges a little bit. And then we can come right in here with this brown. Right. And then same right here. So you're just taking the corner of the brush, tucking it in, and then sweeping it out a little bit. And then over here, we'll have quite a bit more of that shading on the right side or left side of this leftmost pot. Remember, because I said my light source was on the right, so this is going to be dark. A little bit more. Now you can use, if this 3/4 inch flat is just too much for you to handle in the tight space, you could use a smaller flat brush too. Okay. All right, so that's going to do pretty good for our foreground, our ground, a little bit of the shading. We'll do more shading. This is a good start. Right there. Okay. All right, so the next thing I want to do coming forward is this brick wall. All right, so first thing I'm going to do with that is let's take our, well, first let's get a flat just to get into the cracks back here, and then we'll use the mop for the rest of it because I definitely want to use the mop for that. All right, so back in here, all right, I've got burnt sienna, coffee latte, and burnt umber. That's going to be our brick color. So this is a 10 flat. I'm going to get some medium and a little burnt sienna. And let's come right in here. With that brick color. Okay. Around the edge of our pot. Remember I said those sponge or mops don't have a corner they have a nice, they can get a flat edge, but they can't get a corner like this flat brush can. So do this part and then you can work with the mop after. All right, so we're going to come down here. Now the brick again wraps over. And I meant to say at the beginning, as a reminder, that pattern is provided for this lesson in a link in the comments. It's pinned to the top of the comments for this video. So if you go look at the chat or the comments, you'll see the link to download the pattern. It's an 8x10 pattern, prints easily on an 8.5x11 sheet of paper. And then you just transfer it onto your canvas and you're good to go. All right, now let's come to this mop. So this is a 1/2 inch, same super soft goat hair brush bristles. I'm going to get medium on that and then come get burnt sienna. Okay, so this is going to be our mid-tone or medium tone color for our bricks. And I'm going to go right over the pattern lines and you can still see them. Okay, so that's medium and burnt sienna, which is one of our matte colors. So that's also going to be helpful for the look of these bricks. Unlike our multi-surface paint that finishes with a satin sheen to it, this will be a little flatter. All right, so we'll come down this line here. And go right over. All right, now back here behind these pots, we're going to do some extra green strokes and things to fill in our plants. So doing any kind of extra detail work right there really isn't necessary. The part that you're going to see the most of is this part right here, this kind of triangle area. So I'm going to focus on that for the details. Now, first thing I want to do, just for shading purposes, I'm going to get some burnt umber. I wiped off that brush. I'm going to get burnt umber on it, and we can come right down here. Behind this pot, or on the right side of it. And I can come right in here. Now we use that flat to get the color, to get it into the corners and stuff, and that's necessary. But when you're doing this shading right in here, it's just fine to come tap the edges in there. It still leaves some of the burnt sienna showing, and then you've got your dark value as well. All right, so this is still wet, and we're just going to streak some burnt umber up behind this pot on this side of the wall. And we can get real dark with it right in here. So I'm just going to take burnt umber, kind of tap that around where the shape of our plant in this pot is going to be. It's like it's casting a shadow, but it's also filling in for the darkness of our plant. It'll help some of those colors to pop like I was talking about. Same thing on this one. We can come right through here. And as a matter of fact, you can even go right over that edge with more burnt umber. And just loosely, roughly fill that in, right? Shape of this one's going to be taller. It's going to go right past the edge and the top of the brick wall. All right. Okay. Then what we want to do now is just with that burnt umber on here, we can come underneath just with the chisel edge of this brush under the lip of the top row of bricks. It's casting a shadow. It sticks out over the rest of the wall, so it's got a shadowy edge that gets created. Okay, and then I can take that same chisel, we can go right in here in between, right where the mortar is going to go. Touch that in. A few places. Actually, I'm not liking doing that with that brush because it's not working. Making it too thick, so we need a flat brush for that. So let's go back to our 10 and we'll get let's get a little bit of gray with our burnt umber. Right, this is that classic French gray and burnt umber, a little bit of medium. All right, so let's come right in here. There, that's what we want. Maybe even get a touch of white with that gray. Let's lighten it up just a little bit. So that lighter edge is to the top. And you just chisel edge stroking down. A little bit of white. Putting the mortar in between the bricks, okay? And again, only putting it where it might be visible. And don't forget your edges. Okay, now to finish off these bricks, let's come get some medium and some coffee latte, which is going to be a tan color. And then we're going to side stroke a little bit of white on 1/2 of that brush. Okay, and so every once in a while you can take that brush and just kind of streak it. So no pressure. Let's get a little more of that coffee latte on there. Very little pressure. Mostly on the chisel, on the tip of the bristles. There we go. Just to age these bricks a little bit. There's a glare there because it's wet. That coffee latte is just not looking good to me on these, so I'm going to go back to the burnt sienna. Making just some darker burnt sienna with the white. Yeah, that looks a little better. One thing I want you to notice as I'm doing this is it's trial and error sometimes when you're creating. And so If you haven't noticed, a few things that I've tried didn't turn out the look that I wanted, so you have to be ready to adjust. And now let's get a little more burnt umber, and we will age some darker areas on these, just with the corner of the brush. Just grabbing some burnt umber. And you can kind of tap it in here and there. Don't do every brick the same. Okay. Now to finish this off, you can do a little bit of shading. So clean that 10 flat and then got medium. And let's get some, like a side load of burnt umber, right? And we can come here. And I want that really dark underneath, so maybe get just a little bit of the licorice. Let's turn this. Yeah. So that'll create that deeper dark shadow that I wanted on that overhang. And then you can even do a little bit, come back to that burnt umber side load. There. Okay, so remember I said this right here is the only real area I want to have any kind of attention to the brick on, so I need to pull myself away from those other areas. Okay. All right, so that looks pretty good for that brick wall, I think. Let's base coat our pots, and then we can start putting in all our pretty flowers. So for the pot colors, I'm going to put out some Cobalt. I'm going to get a fresh plate. We'll use these colors again, so I'm just going to set that to the side. But I'm going to put out some Cobalt hue and some Juneberry. And I'm going to play with the Juneberry a little bit to get the color that I want. And then we have the Coffee Latte and burnt Sienna. So this pot right here is going to be more of your standard terracotta color, but a little bit to the tan tone of it. So 12 flat, and we're going to get Coffee Latte first, right? And we'll do our inside. Now, insides we always like to make darker, but let's just start with this base color now. All right, and I'm going to add just a touch of white. Right, and then come back to that stronger Coffee Latte. Actually, let's get just a touch of burnt Sienna. There we go. So you're going to pull that along that right side and then turn your brush this way and sweep, following the curve of the pot. Okay, now I don't want lines there though, so be careful. There. A little more burnt sienna on this edge. There. So you got a little darker rim, a little lighter bottom. And do a little chisel down here. Okay, now darken that inside. We're going to take burnt umber and go right in here. Okay, just so we come back to that dark center of our plant so that the leaves and everything show up. Okay, let's come and side stroke a little bit of white. I wiped off that color. Side stroke a little bit of white, and we're going to come right on the chisel across the face of the brim on the pot in the front. Okay. It's going to wake that up just a little bit. We can do a little on this edge here. And we'll pull a little bit across. There. Okay. All right, so that's one pot. Now, these others, these two back here, I'm going to do this kind of blend of, I'm going to try a blend of burnt sienna and Juneberry. So it's got a purple tone, but it's muted like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I was hoping it would look like. So it's like an orangey purple. And Juneberry brightens that right up. All right, so let's come right in here. Okay. Get the edges and then just fill it in. Now this one's a tall pot sitting in the back. Let's get a little more of the burnt sienna. All right, now this brush is a little big for this surface, so I'm just twisting it a little bit so I get a little bit smaller. And go along that rim. Okay, so now with that, we'll come back and fill in the center with the dark afterwards. I want to get this other pot in place. So this one, same thing, similar color. I'm going to get a little more burnt sienna and Juneberry. And let's get a little bit of medium here too. Okay. So don't be afraid to blend colors, guys. That's how we discover new looks that we didn't know we liked. So I just recently taught a pumpkin where we blended some Pueblo and magenta together, and that gave a beautiful color too. And everyone was surprised to see the beauty of that color and to think to do it. All right, so here we'll come down this angle. And across this face here. Okay. All right, now with that pot, I'm actually going to get a little bit of the Cobalt hue and Juneberry together. All right, and we're going to come right along here, create a little shadow on that side of that pot from the other one. And then just kind of pull that out into the lighter area. And then same thing under here. Get a little bit more of that so it's more of a shadow under that rim. And then down this side. And a little in here. Okay, and we'll have lots of leaves and things covering that too. All right, wipe that brush off, get your burnt umber, and do the insides of those pots. And we're going to bring that right up into this here. Okay. And again, that one's going to go up into this space here. All right, now clean that brush, and the last color we're going to use is the Cobalt, and I'm going to get a little bit of light blue with that. Okay, so same 12 flat, we're going to load Cobalt and light blue. All right, and we'll come from with the dark on the left side, the light on the right. Right here. So my mind is always thinking as I'm creating, and sometimes catching myself making that mistake of where the light is. So if you can keep that in your mind's eye as you're creating, it will make a big difference. Okay, now let's go ahead and fill this in. All right, and then continue with the next pot. Maybe get just a touch of white with that light blue. I want it just a little bit lighter. All right, so dark is on the left. And light on the right. And then I want to do it actually a sweep this way. Maintain that right edge though. Wipe off the brush, come get the Cobalt, and we'll sweep back this way. And I want to do the same thing on this bottom one. I like the look of that. So let's come back with our light and we'll pull it this way. Get a little bit of white. More white. There we go. Okay. And then come back to that cobalt on this edge. There. That looks better. All right, and then we'll fill in. Let's first do the cobalt on the edge here. And then we'll do brown in the middle. So in this case, I'm leaving a lip for the pot to the edge. Okay. Wipe off that brush. And I want to put, I forgot. I love to paint. And sometimes I forget the steps. Okay, so here, remember our light's coming from the right. So our edge glare is going to be on this right side. Like that. So same thing here. And you might have a little bit back here. Right here. And here. Okay. All right. So there's our pretty pots. And I'm going to grab on the corner of this brush. Let's get a little of this light blue. And remember I said we were going to add a little bit of color onto our patio here. So we can pick up a little bit of that blue in here. Okay, very slight. All right, now let's get our flower colors out. And we've got our greens. So I got a couple of palettes going here. So I've got, let's put out some Daffodil Yellow. Oops. And let's get some citrus green. I'm going to put this over here with our other greens here. So I've got Citrus Classic Thicket. Let's put some Wicker White on this plate for blending with our flower colors. We have Juneberry. We need some Apple Red. Don't need a lot. And then I've got some more vibrant colors. This is Bright Pink. And Neon Purple, which is kind of a gel form. So it's going to be a little runny. As you can see right away when it comes out, it runs a little bit more. All right, and we're going to use smaller brushes for that. But first we need to get our various leaf colors in here, okay? So I've got, this is an 8 flat. All right, so the first thing I want to do is just start adding in, let's pick up some Thicket first. And we'll work from the back to the front. So right in here, we'll get some green going. Oops, I didn't realize it was sitting on that. So just kind of slapping that in. Then we will side stroke with the Thicket, side stroke on that 8 flat, some citrus green. Right, and then we'll add some of our lighter flowers. So this is, let's first put these stalks. These are stalks are going to come way up here. There. So like foxgloves in a pot. Right. And actually this is going to come a little higher. And here. Okay. So then we can start laying in some leaves. Light and dark values. And you can do a few little slip slaps with the corner to give the impression of side views of leaves, little pieces of them. You're not seeing every little leaf that's going the same direction. Okay, and then up here you can have a few coming off. Let's get just a little bit of yellow on that citrus green. There we go. Wake that up a little bit. All right, so just filling in for a background for our flowers. All right, so that's where our foxgloves, and then we've got some black-eyed Susans that are going to come in here. Let's pull a few more stems out of these pots right here. So we're getting some of the classic green now with the citrus, a little bit different color. And we're going to slip slap that citrus green corner. Let's get a little bit of white with that. There we go. A little bit more of the classic green. And when you get down here into the dark of the pot, you can pull a few leaves off. Have some kind of slip slap down the side. A little more white. Classic green. Darken this up a little, maybe a little bit of Thicket right in here. There we go. And then some white. Little bits of leaves coming off. Okay. Now over here, let's get Thicket and then some white. All right, so we're going to take that Thicket corner and fill this in, and we're going to have some shorter stems coming out. You probably won't see those, but it's good for placement. Okay, but then take back to that Thicket corner, kind of filling in here, and then with that white side loaded with the Thicket, you can do some, oops, it needs to be a little bit stronger there. Let's put the white on the outside. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So we'll do some broader leaves on these with the white to the outside edge. And see how the varying colors of green makes a big difference. Keep side loading that white. A little more Thicket. Okay. And then you can just take that corner. You've got all those leaves in there, but we need to fill in a little more of the greenery. We don't want all that brown. That's just for background color, so the darker shows darker. Right, and then just with the corner, fill it in. Okay, so we've got that done. Now, oh, we never filled in that pot, so let's get some brown in here first. Wipe off. All right, and then we can come get our citrus and classic right in here. Let's side load a little white on that citrus edge there. Okay, so this we're just going to pull some leaves out. Kind of like a begonia. Okay, and then we'll put a white flower in this one. Okay. All right, then the only other one we need to worry about is this one back here. So let's come in with, let's grab some yellow on with the classic green. All right, and put some stems coming out first so we know our structure. So our highest one is right here, and then we're getting shorter and shorter as we go down on either side. So that's kind of creating a triangular shaped theme here. All right, so we can pull some leaves out here. And let's give these a little bit of a wiggly point here. Kind of like a name of the flower is escaping me. Rose of Sharon, not a Rose of Sharon. Anyway, it's any flower, whatever you want it to be. Okay. Because we're really just going for pops of color. The flowers are not going to be recognizable as any one particular type of flower. Okay. All right. So now with the color that I have left on this brush, I'm going to come up here and slip slap a little bit, a little shrub that's kind of hanging over our garden wall. All right. So just getting a little bit of color in there. And then I'm going to wipe off and pick up white. And we're going to add just a hint of some petals, not any particular flower. It might be a rose. All right, very impressionistic looking back here. Okay. Little taps of that color right in there, but it's very faint back in here. Let's get a little bit of classic green and we'll pull some flowers down, or leaves, I mean. Just tapping in, nothing specific shape-wise, okay? All right, now we're gonna just play with some color here. So I'm going to come, I'm still working with this. This is an 8 flat. Actually, I'm thinking I might switch to a 6 flat for our flowers. Okay. Okay, so back here, let's work on these. I think these are going to be foxgloves of different colors. So I'm going to get my Cobalt, side stroke a little bit of Juneberry, and we're going to come right in here and we're going to push and lift, push and lift. Get a little bit of that light blue. There we go. Okay. All right, let's do some more of that. So I've got Cobalt and light blue. The Juneberry didn't really show up, so we're going to go with this. So right up here. And we'll just kind of have them draping over on that side. And then push with more pressure as you get further down the stalk. Get a little bit of white. There we go. All right, let's pick up a little of that Juneberry now. And right in here, oops, sorry. And right in here, with the colors I have on my brush, side stroke a little white, and we'll light up a few of those petals. All right, and then we'll grab some red, apple red. We'll come over here and do little clusters. So see the blue coming through with that as a shading color. Little red, cobalt. So keeping the red to the outside keeps the blossoms looking bright. And the blue on the inside is acting as a shading for the red. And then we can get a little bit of yellow. And we will add a little touch of yellow to the center. Okay. Get a little bit more red. I want some more up here. Here. You won't necessarily see the centers on those, but that's a pretty little design right there. All right, now wipe that off. We'll come to our pinks and purples here. So I'm just going to grab both of those colors on my 6 flat. And we're going to come right in here. We'll start with the dark corner, slip slap that in. And you'll see that that bright pink is showing on top of it as I'm laying that corner in there. Then you can turn the brush over and add more of that bright pink. Get a little bit of white with the bright pink, and that'll brighten it up a little more. So this is neon purple and bright pink with touches of white. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and do our yellow flowers, which are kind of like black-eyed Susans. So I'm going to clean that brush, and I'm going to load with all daffodil yellow, side stroke a little bit of white. Okay, and what we're going to do for these is we're going to come right through here and pull little short strokes with the white to the outside. The 6 is not a good 6 flat. Let me get a better one. Sorry. So your flower pot garden, you can do any flowers you like. Whatever colors you like. Maybe you like just roses. And let's just take the corner here and we'll stick a few of these like they're back behind. All right, now the centers of these are dark. So I'm actually going to take some of our licorice on the corner of that brush. We're going to go right in here, and you're just going to swipe that corner. Just like that. Right, and then we're going to finish up with, let's get some Juneberry on this one. And we'll get some white. And we're going to come right in here. Side stroking that white on that Juneberry, creating these blossoms. Okay, and then to finish those, I'm just going to wipe off and touch the corner into some daffodil, and we'll swipe that right into the center. And there we go. Now, before I finish, I'm going to take this same brush. And remember I said we're going to put a little bit of color down here from our plants. Plants always drop a little something. Let's get some green. Okay. And I think we are in really good shape. So I'm going to go ahead and get my script liner, and we will get some, some inky white. A bit of water. And we will go ahead and sign this. Our flower pot garden. And oh, I just realized I didn't put anything in this pot. So let's get our 6 flat. And these are white flowers. All right, so these are clean 6 flat, all white. Let's get just a little bit of blue, this light blue in here, just as for a tiny bit of contrast. And we're going to come right through here, little strokes. Kind of like a broadleaf begonia. There we go. Then we can touch into a little bit of Juneberry, and we'll darken the centers on these. There we go. Okay. All right. There, now we have our finished flower pot garden. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoy painting along with me. I love to paint and love to create, and I love sharing with others. So come back with me next time, and we will create another fun design. Until then, God bless and see you soon. Bye-bye.